This is the recipe for the breakfast smoothie that I have every day to be in better shape at age 46 than I was at age 26. It's got 100 grams of protein in it and a whole bunch of other good stuff. And I'll also share with you the meals that I have for lunch and dinner because I keep my nutrition really simple. I just can't be bothered with all the convoluted stuff that we hear about nutrition. I've tried it all. Well, I shouldn't say I've tried it all, but I've tried paleo, I've tried keto, I've tried fasting, I've tried God knows what, and what works for me now is just to keep it simple: breakfast, lunch and dinner. And the reason why I do this smoothie is because I do try to get 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. There seems to still be enough good research on that to show that that is a good way to optimize muscle protein synthesis, and I am trying to build as much muscle as I can naturally. Last year I put on 9 kilos of lean muscle, which was, I think that's about 20 pounds or 22 pounds of lean muscle. And this breakfast smoothie is really the cornerstone of it for me because, you know, lunch and dinner, all I do is, like, for dinner, I'll cook a dinner that's enough for me to have lunch the next day. So breakfast is a really important meal for me, and I don't want to have to think about it. I have 100 grams of protein in this, and the reason I do that is there's some new research, and I learned it from Dr. Layne Norton. I'll share the video where you can learn it too, where he talks about that 3-hour window to get your, you know, protein powder, and you can only have 40 grams or whatever it was per 3-hour window. That's been debunked. It's not as, it's just not the case anyway, at least according to Dr. Layne Norton, and that guy's got a PhD in protein synthesis, so he must know something more than me. So I listen to people like that. Anyway, here you go. This is what works for me, and I hope it works for you. And I was asked this by our UMS online personal training clients recently. They said, what's the exact recipe that you do for your breakfast smoothie? So here it is. I just get about that much water. I'd have more, but it fills the NutriBullet too much, and I can't blend it. So there you go. Then I get my VPA protein powder, and I use VPA because I've searched for the highest quality protein in Australia that I can find. And if you didn't know, Australian whey protein and New Zealand whey protein is much higher quality than American or USA and European or Japanese protein. It's among the highest quality in the world, so that's why I do it. And it's a really good price, VPA. And if you, shameless plug, we're an ambassador for them. So if you want to get this stuff, you can get it at a discounted rate. If you use the code RAD10 at checkout, you can get 10% off. And I put greens in there, and I just put greens in there just because, you know, I don't take a multivitamin or anything, so there's a lot of good stuff in this that helps me to stay in optimal shape. Then I have glutamine, L-glutamine. Glutamine is really good for digestive health, and it's also good for your immune system, especially when you train hard like a crazy idiot like I do. No, I don't really train that hard, but that's why I take glutamine. And then this is when I have my creatine as well. Creatine helps to build muscle mass and optimize performance, and so I just have it all in my smoothie. And you can have like whatever supplements you want in there. And then I put some organic bolognese sauce in there just for flavor. No, I'm joking. That's chia seeds, and I put chia seeds in there for the fatty acids, for the healthy fats, but also for the fiber. Fiber is really important for health, which is why I also have psyllium husk. So I just put some psyllium husk in there, and you can see I'm not measuring any of it. And then this is the magic ingredient. This is the ingredient that's going to make you jacked and lean and shredded and all that stuff. A banana! No, I'm joking. But, you know, again, for fiber and for health, I want to try to get as much fiber as I can in my diet. And when you're eating a high protein diet, personally, I find it hard to get a lot of fiber. So why don't we come over here and I'll blend it. We'll blend it now. If I can get the bloody lid on. All right, here we go. I'm going to whack it on this thing. Voila, done. So let's talk why I have this and what I have for my other meals. So I want to, like, if I'm about 200 pounds, that's roughly what I weigh. So I want to get 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. And, you know, based on what I've seen Layne Norton talk about, on the research that he's done or what he's been learning from the current research, this idea that you need to evenly space your protein out throughout the day and you've got a 3-hour window to do it. He doesn't agree with that anymore, and I follow him for protein guidance. So I used to do, like last year I was doing 6 meals a day. Well, I was doing 3 meals a day, but 3 protein shakes between the meals. And it's just really hard to do. It's not a, I don't think it's a very realistic way to eat. And it's certainly not something that I want to do long term. So when I saw this video from Lane Norton, it made me think, you know what, I'm just going to front load 100 grams of my protein. Now, I know a lot of people would think, oh, that's excessive, putting 4 protein serves into one shake. Sure, it is excessive, but so is everything that you do when you're trying to build muscle. There's nothing about trying to build muscle that isn't excessive. Like it's a really extreme thing that you have to do. The way you got to train, the way you got to eat, the way you got to sleep, all of it. It's crazy. But I'm trying to make it as realistic as possible. And so I'm eating a good quality protein source here. I probably don't do it. I don't think I do it on the weekends. On the weekends, I usually just have eggs and avocado or something like that. But at least there's 100 grams of protein. And so then all I need to think about for lunch and dinner is to try and get 50 grams of protein. And I eat meat, so that's not hard to do. Like, you know, some cuts of meat have 21 grams of protein per 100 grams and others have 28 grams of protein per 100 grams. So I just kind of round it off and even it out at 25 grams per 100 grams. So if I'm eating about 200 grams of protein, of meat, then I'm getting roughly 50 grams. And I don't weigh anything. I don't have scales. I don't count calories. I don't do any of that. I just get I know what 200 grams of meat looks like roughly, and I usually eat a bit more than that, and I'll have fish, chicken, or beef, or lamb, or whatever it is. And then I'll just eat vegetables with it. And I'll eat, again, vegetables for carbohydrates and for fiber. And so I'll usually eat like broccoli or cabbage or carrots or potatoes or sweet potatoes for carbs. And on the days that I work out and expend more energy, especially on the days where I do cardio, I will eat rice. Like I'll have white rice or pasta as part of my meal. And on the days that I won't do as much working out, or definitely on the days I don't do cardio, I won't eat that source of carbohydrate on those days. And all I do, I don't count calories or anything. I basically just pinch my fat when I'm in the shower to know if I'm getting it right or getting it wrong. So for me, I always pinch this part here next to my belly button, and that's me on the bigger side. Like if you look at these pictures, I'll put one of these pictures here. That's when I'm a little bit leaner, and when I'm like that, when I pinch down here, I'll have about that much that I can grab. And so when I can grab that, I know for me now, I shouldn't drink alcohol, I shouldn't eat any sugar, I should absolutely limit the amount of carbs that I do, and I should do a little bit more cardio in the next week or two. And if I do that, that just keeps me always at roughly this sort of 10-11% body fat. And it's something that works for me. It's something that I've been experimenting with for at least a decade. And I think it's a really realistic way to be able to eat to build muscle, to stay lean, and how to just track how you're doing, you know? Like I've had multiple DEXA scans in the past so that I understood what being 9 or 10% body fat felt like, which is what I always was when I had a DEXA scan. And I've gone through phases where I've monitored, like, you know, the amount of protein that I'm eating and X, Y, and Z. But this is just a much more realistic way to go about it, I think. And it works really well for me. And the reason I'm making this video is because our members in the UMS online personal training that work with me were asking me, what do you put in your smoothie? How do you do it? And when I shared a really candid video in our coaching app, people were like, wow, that's a really realistic way of looking at it. And I think that there's a lot of misleading information about nutrition out there. And there's, you know, every fitness coach has got their different way of doing it, and people are telling you to track your macros and track this and that through whatever app you're using. And I do think that there's validity in that, because it's something that I did in the past. I think that there is a lot of value in tracking your macros and tracking your calories for a period of time so that you can start to look at a meal and go, whoa, that's got, that's got a lot of carbs in it, and I've already eaten this amount of carbs, and or that's only got this much protein in it. And if I think that there's value in that, because I've learned to be able to look at food and just know, okay, that's a protein-rich meal and that's not a protein-rich meal. And the way that I think every successful fitness professional approaches food long term is that you build every single meal around protein. You always think, where do I get my X amount of grams of protein? And then everything else comes around that. So, and that's how I do it. You know, like I've just shown you how I do breakfast. I think breakfast is the toughest one to get right. So that's just so easy to do for me every day. It means that every single day when I get up, that one meal is taken care of and there's half my daily protein requirements. And it's working for me. I'm building muscle. At 46 years old, I'm building muscle with this method. And then for lunch and dinner, the way that we do it in my house is we make enough dinner that I've got lunch for the next day, and my wife's on board with it. So I always we always choose a protein source first. So I'll just, it'll be, are we going to have beef tonight or chicken or X, Y, and Z? And then from there, it's just the vegetables that go with it. And when you look at vegetables, most vegetables have very little calories in it. So you could go from eating this much vegetables to that much, and it barely adds a lot of calories to the meal, unless you're having potatoes or sweet potatoes, things like that. And so, yeah, it works for me. Hopefully it works for you. And I think if you approach nutrition from a more simple perspective, then you're going to have much more success with staying lean and building muscle and all that stuff. And I should add, alcohol, sugar, treats, all of that stuff. I'm not a saint, but I'm very moderated with what I do, and I'm very deliberate with it. Now, I don't drink much alcohol anymore at all, but I do still enjoy myself sometimes. And I think something that a lot of fitness professionals don't do is give realistic advice for the rest of us, for the rest of people in the world. Now, for example, my mum and my stepdad came down 2 weeks ago, and my brother Yanni came up, and we hadn't all been together for a while. So that was a night that we decided to let our hair down, and we all had some drinks. And I had more drinks on that night than I would have had in months. And the next day, my mum went to the shop and bought a whole bunch of sugary treats. And I had a few of, I don't even know what it was, but I had more sugar than I would normally have. And so the way that you consume calories actually affects you over like weeks and months. So if you can level out what you eat in a week and in a 4-week period, you can maintain your weight. It's not about what you eat in a 24-hour period. So that's why I talk about, for me, pinching my gut, and I go, okay, well, I've definitely eaten more in the last couple of weeks than I need to eat in order to maintain my physique that I'm at now. So that's when I rein it in. So that's when for the next couple of weeks, I will absolutely not consume any alcohol. I won't have any refined sugar, so any sort of chocolate or sweets or anything like that. And I'll be moderated with how much excess carbs that I have, like excess energy, excess calories from things like rice and pasta. So I'm blabbing on a little bit now, but I hope that helps. Hope it helps you the way that it's helped me. Don't take this as medical advice. I'm just some bozo on the internet, but I've been a personal trainer for 20 years and I've gotten a lot of people in great shape. And at age 46, I am definitely in better age than I was when I was 26. You can see these pictures to compare it. Hope it helps. If you've got any questions, hit me up in the comments. And yeah, that's it.